One of the things I've noticed with a lot of your projects you've done is even though esports and gaming couch, like I said, it had this stigma where everyone almost like, it's like they were just putting it on themselves as well. They were like, oh, fuck, we shouldn't tell anyone. This is like, we should be ashamed of this or whatever. One of the things I've noticed about all your projects is you had kind of like the Steve Jobs vibe where it was like, we've also got to find the hook that makes this like appealing to the person. Like they want to brand themselves in this way. They want to get these things and it's not something shameful. It's like, it's almost like a thing that you're in on and no one else is. Yeah, it's cool. Like they're going to, because I noticed when you went to Steelseries, like Steelseries has never been as big and ubiquitous a brand name. In fact, after your time period, they basically instantly like lost all the sponsorships, all the big teams, and now many other brands are significantly bigger and basically ate all their market share. But during your time, like every single brand, every top team basically was Steelseries, except the ones, by the way, who usually weren't big enough to. You know, they just didn't get the gig. So when you're at Steelseries, bear in mind, you are just selling, you know, fucking headsets, mice and stuff. And in fact, back then, the vibe used to be for a lot of gamers, like that's actually for the player who doesn't know esports. Like if it says gaming on it, it's actually the shit headset. That was, you know, before some of the Steelseries. So give me some thoughts on this, because it wasn't just the tech, right? It's about how you sell the tech.
Yeah, sure. The approach I took with SteelSeries was that, well, I bought the competitive stuff that I could buy. And so, okay, so what is it that people do? And they would always write these like extravagant claims on the boxes. Hyper, ultra, millisecond, something rapid fire. I think it sounds so empty and bullshit. And then they would do a second thing that really pissed me off. They would do these fake quotes from gamers, where they had like some programmer from a team they sponsor say like, you know, this is my favorite sensor in a mouse because it has a millisecond delay of blah blah blah.
Sure.
And half of the words that guy had just been quoted as, he didn't know what it meant. There's no fucking way. So I didn't know anything about marketing. I just tried to make it as real as possible. So I used real quotes from people. I put them in real situations. We did real interviews, which I had become relatively good at, during the explain days. So I took care of all the testing with players, and then we just tried to never make ourselves feel stupid for putting something out there. And it was a constant fight, actually. I was the only executive in the company, even when I left, when we were doing $80 million a year. I was the only executive in the company that played games. Do you know how difficult it is to convince people who have no idea about the language that's being used in an online culture that they're not a part of, that I'm right and that this sentence is the one that will solve, the problem of like selling something, making us look not cool, making us not look too this like this. But that was really, I tried to do something where Emil, Ethan, as a like imaginary person in my head, would look at it and then say, okay, I can relate to this. That was actually like the thing super simple, but like if you could pinpoint something and say like this guy will think that it's okay, then the rest of the world usually would too. If I can tell you one thing, actually, it's like in what are we talking? In 2012, 2013, when we sold part of SteelSeries and most of us cashed out on our stock options, the reason why the investment company had decided to go for SteelSeries compared to all the other options out in the market, and there were plenty of players at the time, was because they had done this brand survey report between all the brands and see how people rated them, what keywords came up when they spoke about them, what associations, right. And there were two words on the SteelSeries brand thing that didn't appear in the other ones, and it was cool and funny. And I was like, yes, okay, it works. This thing actually works. It didn't, like, everyone else had like price, quality, customer support, and so on, but cool and funny was part of what people associated SteelSeries with. I don't know if that's the case today, but back then, I felt like that was a crowning achievement of all my work.
In line with that, one thing I always try to do is, because I view it as like actually like a responsible thing to do if you're a journalist, is when you look into an area, you have to do your research properly and you have to really kind of like embed yourself in it, because what you tend to find is, right, everyone has a million opinions about fucking economics, politics, or like a million topics that they've never even looked into, like one iota, and so they don't know how ignorant they are. And I've found that as a layman, when you go into, like, for example, like business is an obvious example, finance, in this case marketing, you're going to have all sorts of harebrained ideas about what's going on that just aren't even the case at all. I'll give you a very quick example, just for an average fan who's watching now. A fan who's watching now, if I said to them, do you think Coca-Cola and McDonald's should keep marketing? Should they keep pushing all the thing? They'd probably go, why would they? You know, everyone knows them. They've probably already hit, you know, satiate the markets. Like, you are absolutely wrong. Like, if they stop tomorrow, immediately they will see a drop off, because think about it. Yeah, you know Coca-Cola, but even then you'll start to forget about it. And then secondly, all the other brands, they'll be the ones pushing their way into your brain and your fucking subconscious. And then thirdly, the kid who's grown up now, who just turned 10 and he's making his decision, he didn't get all that marketing. So one thing you don't know is the biggest brands need the most marketing. They have to keep that bloody gas pedal to the floor the whole time. So what I'm asking now is this, right? As I say, if you go to the early 2010s, basically every big European esports org was sponsored by Steelseries. And in fact, that made up an enormous part of their budget of what allowed them to run as businesses at the time. Like, they needed the money that you get from the monthly retainer or whatever it would be, the partnerships, right? How does a brand like that go from literally the brand in gaming to they're kind of a bit player at times now, I feel like? So how does that happen?
What was this last part of your question? Sorry.
Like, basically, how did they lose that enormous market share? What do you think? Where were the foots put wrong? What fucked up in it?
Want the honest answer?
Yeah.
It was a combination of hiring a new CEO and hiring a new CMO. So it takes two of the most important people for anything that's related to public-facing part of the company, and into the ultimate decision-making process power in the company. And none of them understood the market. Like, the guy that hired was a super fucking smart guy, with a long, like, advertising agency experience, and has done great things before Steelseries, and has, as far as I know, done great things after Steelseries. He just totally didn't get it. So he started cutting budgets, and American ways of doing advertising, where, like, he did a replica of the Coke versus Pepsi blind test, where he put, like, headsets on people. And then, you know, they would publish that to their audience. And like, why are you advertising yourself to the audience you already have on social media? They already know you. That's why they follow you. Like, you know, what are you trying to get out of this? There was no purpose behind it. He was just thinking it would be funny. And, yeah, I think that didn't work. Then they hired new CEO. And I think after the CMO guy. And the new CEO came in, and he had worked at Logitech before. So I'll give you my opinion about it through a conversation with him. And I'm paraphrasing directly. In 2014, Gungamers was starting to look a little shaky. I didn't really know if I had a future in that company, since I just kept having to deal with scandals, and the community seemed to be turning against it from a perception perspective at least.
Sure.
So I was like, okay. I got a call from the founder of Steelseries. We're still great friends today. And he's like, hey, marketing isn't going super well. If I could make it work, would you be interested in coming back? Would you have some demands? And I was like, yeah, I'm not moving back to Chicago, but if I could stay here in San Francisco, I would maybe consider it. Well, I just hired a new CEO. He's in San Francisco. And so we ended up having dinner that day. I didn't know anything about this guy, right? I'm just sitting there having dinner with him. We're talking about Steelseries, my experiences with it, how I view marketing, which fundamentally is I don't think I know marketing. I just know what doesn't look stupid, and I try to do these things. And then in the end, he goes like, who would you be most afraid of now? And I say, as honestly as I can, Logitech. I was always afraid that when I was doing the Steelseries marketing, that Logitech would wake up and realize what they had to deal with.
They already had the best mice, etc., right?
Oh, they already had the best product. They had the best hardware quality.
They just didn't do esports. Yeah.
They had the best supporting, positive support. If you had a mouse that broke 5 years after your warranty expired, you would just get a new one. On every account, Logitech would eradicate Steelseries positioning as sort of like the nerdy, sciencey German engineering quality guy in the market because they did all the things that I had chosen for Steelseries. They just did them better. So I was always afraid that was going to happen. And then the guy looks at me. I was the CMO of Logitech for 5 years.
Jesus. That's it, isn't it? Yeah. You're done already.
I was like, okay, so I guess I won't be going to Steelseries. But anyway, that's my, I think, and when you hire a CEO that has like extensive marketing background, they typically think that while they're also the CEO of that company, that they can also make all the marketing decisions.
Right.
So I think that's what you're seeing now. I think you're seeing a company that's like reached a scale where they have some people involved that have a less practical approach and more of like a weird business theory approach to certain things. And I'm not sure that works yet. I don't know the business theory. I'm not educated, but like from what I can see, it when you have a marketing program, when you make a mandate in your company that all marketing programs have to pay for themselves when you do them. Like the first 5 years of my tenure in Steelseries as CMO, you know what my advertising budget was?
Can't be much.
Zero. I thought the money was much better invested in esports, because we were getting outspent in all other categories of marketing and advertising anyway. Most of the companies we were fighting against had, like America as our home base, and we had Denmark as our home base. So while and you always have a stronger retail presence in your home base. So we had an economy of 5 million people that would fuel our growth versus, people from any other country in the whole fucking world that has computer technology available that has more people. And so they would just have a bigger footprint in their local retail and have more watches to go fight with. So we had to be smart and come up with something. And the only thing that the competitors hadn't really figured out, it was luckily the only thing that I knew really well, which was esports. So that's how that worked out.